they always said I'm wrong, but what they doing today? I think they want me gone, but I ain't going away. They told me I was wrong, but look at my ass today. Da 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 da.
This again. Don't call it a comeback, or should we call it either an epic comeback by Russia or an epic choke job on the part of the Spanish national team? So, what's up, everybody, on the Real Sports Talk? What's good on the internet? What's good in life? I'm Akiem LI495, recapping what happened with Russia and Spain today in men's basketball at the Olympics. Russia with a huge comeback anchored by big-time scoring runs in the second and third quarters, and coming back on the Spanish team by a final score of 77-74 to win that game in Group B and to stay undefeated overall in Group play. Now, here's what it came down to. Ultimately, it came down to the second and third quarters. First quarter, it was all Spain all the time. It was a 28-11 lead for the Spanish team at the end of that first quarter, but then all of a sudden, Russia outscored Spain by 9 in the second and by 11 in the third, and at that point, it got close. But really what it came down to was Pau Gasol. Yeah, he had 20 points for Spain at the end of that game, but missing one of 2 free throws towards the end really did not help the cause for Spain as they go down once again to Russia by a score of 77-74. Now, I must mention, at one point of the game, this is how you got to put comebacks sometimes in perspective. At one point in the game, Russia was down to Spain 20-2. So much for the U.S. going 13-0 on Nigeria. Spain was dominating Russia. They were absolutely on them. They were having them for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. 20-2 at one point. And if I'm not mistaken, Pau Gasol, who I just mentioned, at one point in that game, who again had wound up with 20 points, scored 10 of the first 12 points for Spain at one point in that game. But then in the second and third quarters, they just went off. Vitaly Fridzon wound up with 24 points. Not to mention, we saw numerous sightings from one Timofey Mozgov of the Russian team. Now, of course, American and Canadian fans still remember Timofey Mozgov as the guy who, at one point for the New York Knicks, was dunked on by Blake Griffin, but he had 12 points as well for the Russian effort as they win this game by a final score of 77-74. Again, Mozgov with not only 12 points but also with 9 rebounds as well. So you got to figure that this is going to be demoralizing, and a lot of people are now going ahead and starting to change their predictions as to who will be eventually in the gold medal game, likely versus the United States. I and many people have predicted, just like it was in Beijing in 2008, that it would be Spain, but now Spain, with this loss and the fact that Russia is still undefeated, who knows? We could be talking about a USA-Russia final now all of a sudden in the gold medal game at the O2 Arena at the North Granite Center. But again, you can't understate this comeback from 20-2 to a victory all of a sudden like that, and Russia is still able to maintain their status as being undefeated in group play as they once again defeat Spain by a score of 77-74. So, did you watch this game like I did? Did you keep up with this game like I did? It was definitely surprising to see the fact that to see them come back like this. But you can tell in that second and third quarter that this was not going to be a blowout. This was not going to be a US-esque blowout. Russia was game. They've been undefeated. They've shown why they were undefeated so far in this tournament. So you gotta give up big ups to Russia, and you gotta wonder what happened to Spain at the end, toward not only the end of that game with Gasol missing those 2 free throws, but also in quarters 2 and 3 where they just let Fridzon and Pankrashov and Mozgov just go off the way that they did ultimately. So that's what's up. That's what's going on. Russia over Spain, 77-74. Again, what did you think of that game? How big of a choke job you can say this was for Spain, and how big of a comeback was this for Russia, as this propels their hopes to get onto the medal stand, likely against a gold medal game versus the United States. And speaking of the United States, I got to run in a few because I got to go ahead and I got to see what's going to happen with the USA team as well as Lithuania as they play at 9:30 a.m. on the NBC Sports Network. So I got to run, and I'm going to make this very quick. Rate, comment, react, reply, add, and subscribe. Again, what you think of this game and what you think of Pau Gasol missing those two, rather not missing two, but one of those two free throws at the end, allowing Russia to pull away by 3 and win this one by a final score of 77-74. Again, rate, comment, react, reply, add, and subscribe. I'm just one guy talking about nothing. So until next time, the real sports talk here, LI495, London 2012. See you on the internet someplace. What a comeback. Wow.
Just a little ways around the corner from fear. Be there by next year, where I'm going.